Is it just me, or does every finance bro on this app tell you to just invest like it's some kind of magic spell? You've followed the play-by-play, you've done exactly what they said for 3 straight years, and yet you're still sitting there wondering why the needle hasn't actually moved. They're loud about the what, but they're suspiciously quiet about why the math isn't actually mathing in your real life. Here's the thing. They're leaving out the one piece of the puzzle that actually matters. And look, once you get this, money doesn't suddenly stop being a rigged game. Let's be honest, it's still pretty messed up, but at least it becomes a game you finally know how to win. So you're sitting there, opening your banking app for the 10th time this month, just staring at the screen. You've watched that balance crawl from $8,347 to maybe $8,421 over half a year of genuinely trying. You look at that tiny gain and realize it wouldn't even cover a decent dinner out, let alone a real emergency. It's enough to make you feel like you're failing at the most basic level of adulthood. And the whole time, you're scrolling past these dudes on your feed, you know the ones, flexing 7-figure portfolios and talking about passive income like it's as easy as breathing. Meanwhile, you're just over here like, man, I just want to hit $10,000 without my car throwing a rod or having a total heart attack in the middle of the highway. It feels like the internet is playing a completely different sport than the one you're actually in. But look, here's the quiet part no one ever mentions. Getting that first $50,000 in the bank is physically and mentally more difficult than making the next $450,000 combined. I'm not just trying to give you some hustle culture quote for a poster. It's a literal fact. The math is stacked against you, and honestly, the way the world is set up right now, it's almost designed to keep you from ever crossing that line. And seriously, stop beating yourself up. It's not because you lack discipline. It's because the financial system is basically a video game where level 1 is tuned to be impossibly difficult. Most people spend their whole lives stuck on the tutorial because the game is rigged to drain your health bar before you even find your feet. But once you finally clear that first stage, that's when you unlock the God mode everyone on your timeline is bragging about. We've all heard the standard script. It's that cookie-cutter advice your parents or some HR person at your first job gave you. Just save 10 or 15% of your paycheck, park it in an index fund, and let compound interest do the heavy lifting. Just be patient. And honestly, that sounds great on paper. But that worked in 1985 when a house cost 40 grand and college was the price of a used Honda. Because let's be real, if you actually sit down and look at what a normal person takes home today, that 15% savings advice starts to look like a bad joke. By the time Uncle Sam takes his cut, your landlord takes theirs, and you send off that monthly tribute to your student loans, plus the 6 different streaming services you keep forgetting to cancel, that 15% is maybe $300 a month. In a good month, maybe you're tucking away $300 or $400 if you're lucky. At that pace, it'll take you a solid 15 years just to see 50 grand, and that is the best case scenario. That assumes you live in an absolute vacuum where nothing ever breaks. No sudden layoffs, no medical bills that come out of nowhere, and God forbid your car makes that clunking sound again. To hit that number on that timeline, you basically have to stop existing as a human being for a decade and a half. But look, here's the kicker. The real reason that first $50,000 feels like a literal war zone. You're getting hit from 3 different sides at the exact same time. You've got the low income holding you down, the sky-high cost of just existing, and the worst part? You have 0 momentum. See, compound interest isn't some magic fairy that helps everyone. It's a snowball that only works if you already have enough snow to roll. Right now, you're just standing there with a handful of ice, wondering why nothing is moving. Let's say you actually pull it off. You scratch and claw your way to $10,000 in cash. Genuinely, that is a massive win. You should be proud. You put it to work, you get a stellar 10% return, and boom, you've got an extra $1,000 in your pocket. That feels incredible for exactly 5 seconds, until you realize your landlord just hiked your rent by $200 a month, and the price of a grocery run basically just ate your entire profit for breakfast. You just ran a marathon only to find out you're standing in the exact same spot. Here's the dirty secret the gurus hate to admit. Compound interest is basically a ghost when you're broke. Telling someone with $500 that compounding is the key to wealth is like telling them they have the legal right to fly a helicopter. Okay, cool, but I don't exactly see a chopper parked in the driveway. It's a technicality that doesn't actually help you get off the ground. You always hear these guys quote that old line, "A dollar today is worth more than a dollar tomorrow." And yeah, thanks for the economics lesson. But that logic completely falls apart when you actually need that dollar today just to put gas in the tank or buy a carton of eggs. All that theoretical future wealth the gurus talk about is just math on a screen. It doesn't do much for you when your landlord is knocking on your door on the first of the month. Now, check the math on this, because this is where the scale of the game finally starts to make sense. If you've got $50,000 in the market and you pull a 10% return, boom, you just made $5,000. That's a mortgage payment, a couple months of groceries, or a massive dent in your debt. That's money you can actually feel. But 10% on $5,000? That's $500. In 2026, $500 is basically one weird sound from your engine or a single trip to the urgent care. You haven't built wealth yet, you've just bought yourself one slightly less stressful emergency. This right here is the exact moment where most people look at the numbers and just walk away. You've been grinding for 3 long years, 3 years of saying no to vacations and yes to every extra shift you could find, and you finally got $12,000 to show for it. It feels like an achievement until you realize that at this pace, you're still 8 years away from that $50,000 mark. That's a decade of your life just to get to the starting line. And you start thinking, what's the point? The system is trash, the game is rigged, and I'm just wasting my prime years. And honestly, I don't blame you for feeling that. I'd be worried if you didn't. And you're 100% right. It is broken. But weirdly enough, finally admitting that the system is a total garbage fire is actually your first real advantage. Because once you accept that the game is rigged, you can stop playing it by their official rules. You quit the plan that tells you to tuck away pennies and wait 40 years to finally enjoy your life. You start treating that $50,000 like a high-stakes mission. You stop asking, how do I save? And you start asking, how do I get there in 3 years instead of 15? And that switch in your head, that's when the door finally starts to creak open. Here is the part they don't put on the colorful pie charts. That first $50,000, it isn't actually about the money. It's about buying your way out of fragility. Think about why you're actually stressed at night. It's because you're living in a glass house. You know that one bad month, one corporate restructuring, or one medical surprise, and the whole thing shatters. You can't negotiate for a better salary because, let's be real, you need that paycheck too much to risk a no. You can't take a swing at a better career because you're one missed pay cycle away from a total catastrophe. $50,000 is the shield. It's the Kick Rocks fund. It's enough to let you quit a job that's draining your soul and actually survive for a year while you find something real. It means when your car's transmission decides to give up on the highway, it's just an annoying Saturday, not a life-altering tragedy. That's not wealth, not in the way the billionaires talk about it. It's just breathing room. It's freedom. And you can't even start building real wealth until you finally have enough space to take a breath. Now, the jump from $50,000 to $500,000, weirdly enough, that's actually the boring part. Seriously, if you can grit your teeth and build that first $50K, getting to $500K is almost like setting cruise control. As long as you don't do something incredibly stupid like buying a boat you can't afford or trying to day trade your way to a mansion, the math finally starts doing the heavy lifting for you. Think about the shift in gears here. At $50,000, you've got options. At $100,000, you've got leverage, the kind that makes people actually listen when you speak. By the time you hit $200,000, you've got real power. And $500,000, that's escape velocity. That's the point where you're moving so fast that the gravity of being broke can't even pull you back down. So let's call it what it is. That first $50K isn't a financial goal, it's a survival mission. Once you cross that line, everything flips. Your brain starts wired differently. You stop looking at the world like someone who's just trying to survive the week, and you start looking at it like someone who's actually here to play the game. And look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is completely unfair. It's unfair that the steepest part of the climb happens when you're at your most tired. It's unfair that the miracle of compound interest only seems to show up for people who already have a mountain of cash to play with. The system is literally built to reward the money you have, not just the work you do. But honestly, realizing that is actually where the weight starts to lift. Because when you finally accept that the first $50K is the only part that's this brutal, it changes the way you look at the grind. It means you're not a failure, you're not bad with money, and you're definitely not broken. You're just currently stuck in the absolute boss fight of the most difficult level of the game.
But keep pushing, because once you clear this one hurdle, I promise you the gears finally start turning in your favor. Every wealthy person you see on your feed knows this secret. They just don't say it out loud because, let's be real, grit your teeth through the hardest decade of your life isn't exactly great for the algorithm. It doesn't sell courses. So the real question isn't actually, how do I get rich? The question is, how do I survive long enough to let the math finally start working for me? That's a much bigger conversation, and we're going to get into that in the next video. But for now, just remember why that first 50K is more valuable than the next $500,000. It's the only money you'll ever have to build with your bare hands. Everything after that, that's just the money building itself. If this finally made the investing noise make sense, or if it just made you feel a little less like you're failing, hit the like button and subscribe. We're going to keep breaking down how this game is actually played. I'll see you in the next one.